You're listening to Fathers Handling Business, where fatherhood meets real talk and real solutions. Here are your hosts, Cali and Donté, ready to dive deep into the art and science of parenting. Let's get started and empower the dad in you.
Fathers seem to be particularly attuned to developing the capacities for children to figure life out. Moms tend to correct more often. Dads tend not to correct as often. But when dad does, the line holds. They're more willing to confront a child. There's a sense of consequence, which shows up right when we see that fatherlessness is linked to incarceration rates. Without a dad, there can be problematic behaviors that develop, a lack of sense of what healthy masculinity looks like. So it's acting out, not having a model. What does it mean to be protective of women and children and show that form of masculinity? There can be compensatory masculinity. I'm going to show that I'm a man by being aggressive, by being over people, instead of seeing what it looks like to have beautiful, healthy masculinity, which is protective of children, protective of those who are weaker. Fathers matter.
So I like where this lady's going. She's explaining why fathers matter. And when there isn't a father in the household or isn't a father figure that is consistently in the household, what that can do to a young boy's really and truly their masculinity.
Right. I like where she went with this masculinity topic because she talked about healthy masculinity. We, in our society today, it's often brought up about toxic masculinity, right?
Right.
And so therefore, a lot of people are shying away from even saying masculinity, you know what I'm saying? Or expressing masculinity, or it's looked at as a bad thing,
Right?
Being masculine, which I obviously don't agree with at all. But it's funny because I say this a lot, but I feel like as a society, we overcorrect a lot. So it went super politically correct, you know what I'm saying? And then we get somebody like Andrew Tate, who was on the opposite side. He's
Absolutely.
I'm a Superman, I'm a man. You know what I'm saying? He was over the top, he was doing too much. But I like this lady talking about healthy masculinity, protecting children, protecting women, protecting those who you are put to steward over.
Right. And those, she even used the word, those who are weaker. Right. And so when she said that, I immediately thought of, because my son is in middle school, I immediately thought of someone who may not be popular or someone who may have some physical or mental disability, and someone who is popular and coming alongside that person and being a protector of that person so that they don't get teased, they don't get bullied. That needs to be modeled through fathership.
Correct. Because they can, as you always say, more is caught than taught. So if they're seeing it from us as their father, then, they're able to model that in real life. No matter what we say, they're going to, model what we do. And I think that it's worth talking about weak and meek, and not taking that as a negative.
Right.
Right? I look at it as if somebody's short, they're just short. It's not a good or a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? I guess depending on who you're talking to, but it's not a good or a bad thing. Your height is your height. You can't change that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in today's society, short people are known as the short kings.
Yeah, they got short kings. I mean, they got leg extensions now. You can get a surgery to lengthen your legs. But the thing about that is
they got
weird.
shoes too. They got shoes.
Yeah, they got the shoes. The thing about that is weird to me, at least to me, because the only reason why I would lengthen my legs is to be taller and play basketball, right?
Right.
But if you have that leg extension, you can't even do any sports or anything.
Yeah.
At least now in 2025, maybe, by 2030 or 2035.
Why are we talking about leg extensions right now?
I'm just saying because, it's something that you really can't change is what I'm saying. Right?
Okay.
That's my point, is that you really can't change your height. obviously, you know, there's exceptions if you're getting a leg extension, but you are what you are. You know, your color is your color. Like me, I had a complex because I was skinny most of my life, you know, and I tried hard to gain weight.
So many people are mad at you right now for saying that.
That's fine, but you'll understand, as much as, you know, people feel a certain way about overweight or not being able to pack on pounds or not being able to lose pounds. I feel the same way about not being able to pack on pounds. Like I've had a horrible complex my whole life because in 8th grade, this girl told me, like, you know, you're super cute, but you're super skinny. You know what I'm saying? So like I couldn't get no chicks, you know,
Well,
at that time, at least.
come on over to the Witherspoon residence and Chef Tay will have you right.
You know, but it's just, you know, I've never been able to gain weight no matter how hard I try, how many protein shakes, how many times I work out a day. And when I did put some weight on me, I hurt my shoulder because I was trying to lift too much. You know what I'm saying? Now I got a forever shoulder issue because I was trying to gain weight. So I've just accepted the fact that I'm a slimmer guy.
You are what you are.
I am what I am.
Okay.
And so being weak does not mean that, or weaker, you know, does not mean that that's something wrong, or you don't have to look at it as a negative, right? Just like I don't need to look at it as a negative that I'm a slimmer guy, skinny,
Yeah.
for lack of better words, you know? And so being masculine doesn't have to be a negative either.
No, absolutely not. It doesn't have to be. It could be. It can most definitely be a positive thing, and that's where she was getting to, and that's where she was, you know, correlating the two, right?
Right. I mean, because you may be weak in one area, you're probably stronger in other areas.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing about male and females, you know, and the relationships that we have, right, is that where I'm weak, you are strong, you know, and where you're weak, I'm strong, you know. And for men, just physically, you know, we're just built differently. And that's dope. But emotionally, we're built differently too.
No, absolutely.
We're built way differently, and you know, a child needs all of that. A child needs the coddling sometimes of his mother, not the over coddling, but you know, sometimes they need that motherly love that, you know, fathers can't really give. You know.
So when you when you talked about when you talk about the masculine heart versus and in terms of, you know, being a good thing, and you just use the phrase, when you are weak, I am strong. Where do you get that from?
The Bible.
The Bible. And the Bible.
Get all my principles from the Bible.
Okay.
I don't know anything outside of that.
And talk a little bit about like just that phrase and what it means. Like who said that phrase?
I mean, Jesus said the meek shall inherit the earth. Jesus said, you know, if they slap you once, you know what I'm saying, turn the other cheek. Jesus said, you know, if they want to rob you of your jacket, give them your coat too, or your shawl. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel that way. You know what I'm saying? If somebody ever came up to me and was like, yo, give me whatever, run your shoes around, I'm like, go ahead, bro. Take what you need. You know what I'm saying? I just gave away like 4 pair of shoes yesterday. Literally. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything that I have in this world, you can have. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously you need it more than I do. If you feel like you need to rob me. So you're not really robbing me. I'm just giving it to you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know, other than any material thing, you know. But Jesus also was not weak-minded.
No. So
right?
He was a meek and mild in his stature and characteristics, right?
Right.
But that does not make him weak.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's what we're trying to convey here in terms of having the positive masculinity.
Correct. Correct. Take care of the poor and the orphans.
Yes.
Among you.
So in terms of the masculine heart, and I want to dive just a little bit deeper into the masculine heart we read in our men's study, we read this book called Wild at Heart by John Eldridge. And
That was before me. That was pre-Cali.
that was pre-Cali joining the men's group. But he talks about these stages that a young boy will go through, through his journey into manhood. And the different stages are like the beloved son, which is boyhood.
Okay.
And then there is the cowboy/ranger stage. And I'm going to explain all these.
Okay, I was about to say the what?
There is the warrior stage,
Okay.
the lover stage, the king stage,
Okay.
and the sage stage. So I'm gonna go back up to the top. So the beloved stage, boyhood, right?
All right.
And I think I've said this on this podcast before. Every young boy, they have a question that needs to be answered, and it can only be answered by their father or a father figure.
Okay.
Right?
And what is that question?
And that question is, do I have what it takes? Do I have what it takes? Every young boy needs to feel cherished and
Right.
valued,
Right.
specifically by his father.
Right.
Okay. This sets like the whole foundation for his sense of worth, and it encourages him to embrace his masculinity from the get-go. And that's at boyhood, right?
Interesting. Okay.
So let's talk about, you laughed at this part, but the cowboy/ranger stage. Okay.
Okay.
This stage involves adventure.
Okay.
Every young boy, like we are wired that way.
Right.
Like, talk about being wired differently than girls. We are wired for adventure.
So this is the phase where they test boundaries.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Taking
Yeah.
risk.
Right.
Right. Hard work.
Right.
So this comes about in adolescence.
But this is, let me just stop you for 1 second, because I just want to say this. Like, this is why setting boundaries and having consequences for your children at this age, when they come into the adolescence, the preteen to adolescence, is so very important.
Very important.
It's very important. Like, we just talked earlier. I'm like, yo, you know what I'm saying? What's the consequences? Because you was talking about your son.
Yeah.
Like, what are his consequences? Like, and if they feel like there are none, then it's easier for them to just do what they want to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or if they feel like the consequences don't matter, right? That's
Yeah.
the other thing too. Like, if they're like, well, I know the consequences and all it is XYZ.
Right.
Then that means that, those boundaries really don't matter to them. They don't respect those boundaries.
Exactly.
And so sometimes you have to create more boundaries or stricter boundaries.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
it gets tricky sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why it gets tricky. It gets tricky when you don't have full custody of your kids.
True.
Because then you're sharing custody.
True.
And then the how do you call it? The consequences don't align within the households, right?
Right.
So you have to get creative.
True. Got to get creative. But I will push back and say that even though when, the custody is split, whenever they're with you, they just have to know what the standard is.
Absolutely.
Now, whether or not they uphold that, that's going to be on them. That's their choice, right? That's when it comes to, okay, I'm going to push these boundaries and let's see how far I can go.
What can I get away with?
Right. Sometimes they go beyond the boundaries. Sometimes they stay within the boundaries. But as long as they're there and they know that you have created these boundaries and this is what you will and won't accept, even if they disrespect it at this point, you know what I'm saying? When they're going through it, like, they will appreciate you for it.
Oh yeah, in the long run, I know this.
Right.
and I'm okay with being the strict parent, the tough dad.
Yeah, you
like,
just gotta be okay with being the villain sometimes.
I'd rather be that than being the person that gets a call from jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm serious.
No, I feel you. Yeah.
So, because I ain't bailing nobody out.
Dang, you not bailing them out?
Nah.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
Nah, do your time, player. You made the choice.
Yeah, if you was not where you're supposed to be. Like I had a conversation with my middle son last week, man, and I just told him, like, I'm so blessed to be your father, bro. Like, he just interviewed for a new position, and he did get the position. You know, he called me and he was like, Dad, I need you to help prep me for this interview. And we were going over stuff, and I prayed with him, and I just tried to instill confidence. Like, yo, you already got it. You already been diligent. You could have been doing anything right now in your life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you could be out there partying. You could be out there
How old is he?
drugging. 22.
22.
22.
Good head on the shoulders.
Good head on the shoulders. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could be out there doing anything. And I just said, man, like, your diligence, whether you get this job or not, like, your diligence, that's a God principle that's going to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, they definitely they definitely do listen.
Yeah.
Later in life. Not in the 12, 13 phase. Yeah, that's when they pushing you.
Yeah. So the cowboy range, cowboy / ranger stage it's about adventure, hard work, instilling hard work, taking risk, all during the adolescent stage. And this is about, really instilling and developing a strong work ethic and a sense of responsibility in them, like you said, at that age.
At that age, yeah.
Because then it just carries on, right?
Right.
Then the next stage, the warrior stage. And this entails where young men need to find a mission and a purpose, right? Something worth fighting for.
Okay.
This stage is about developing a strong moral compass, right?
Okay.
And that even starts at a young age, and a desire to make a positive impact on the world. So,
warriors,
come out and play.
I see you got your the town shirt on today. After the Warriors won that game.
I didn't even know they won. I didn't watch. I woke up.
You was just on it. You was just on it.
You
wore your Oaktown shirt. I see you. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is about purpose.
Okay.
This is about purpose and really doing something that's worth fighting for. What's most important to you, like as a young man in life?
And so, how do you instill that into them?
So it starts, at the adolescent stage, but like you said earlier in the podcast, more is caught than taught.
Correct.
So they're watching us.
Correct.
Okay, and they're seeing, okay, well, what does Dad do, and how does what Dad does impact the world? How does it help other people? So let's look at, my son is always asking me questions about careers and what do you have to do to become this and that and what have you. And so he's asked me multiple times, like, just about my profession as being a therapist, mental health provider of individuals, couples, families. And so he often asks me questions about that. And I always wonder, like, is he just asking because he's just intuitive, or is he asking it because this is something that he might want to do?
I think it's all the above. I think he's looking for that. He's looking for that purpose. He's looking for that, and he's looking at what your purpose is.
Right.
Right. And how you're living that out. And so he's like, oh, okay. Because a lot of times we don't see, there's probably 80% of professions we don't see. Like, they're not in the media. They're not on TV. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the things that these kids or these children are seeing is very surface level. That's why everybody wants to be a ball player and wants to be a singer and an actor.
Or a YouTuber.
They just want to, because that's all that they know. That's really all they know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So kudos to him for, asking those questions, because like you said, he's trying to figure it out.
Yep, he is. Okay, so then after the warrior stage is the lover stage.
The lover boy.
Yes. So this stage is characterized by the awakening of the heart, including love for the beauty, which is your beauty, the nature, and eventually like romance. So it's about developing empathy.
Hold on. That's too PG. It's about the awakening of the what?
For the beauty.
No, go back.
Okay.
The awakening of the heart.
The heart, yes.
The awakening of the loins.
No, the heart. It starts in the heart, bro.
It does start in the heart, but then your loins wake up as well at that 14, 15 stage.
Let me finish.
Okay, all right, go ahead, go finish. Maybe I'm jumping the gun.
This man is talking about the loins already.
I'm just saying.
All right, that's gonna come. That comes with all this. So
okay,
the awakening of the heart, and this includes love for the beauty, the nature, and eventually romance. It's about developing empathy.
Okay.
Compassion.
Okay.
And a deep appreciation for a relationship. Now, with all of that, of course, comes the physical and all that. And that's happening, all throughout these different stages as well. That's
right.
That's naturally happening. But the lover stage is so important. And we have a huge responsibility with this part in developing in our boys, right?
And how so?
Because, again, more is caught than taught, right?
Right.
And they're gonna see what it looks like to love someone by how much we have loved their mother, and how we have loved their mother, and for both of us, that's a difficult task, especially
correct.
not having that type of relationship with their mother
right.
anymore, right?
Right.
But I do know that for a while, even after we had split, I was still, making sure that I was being a gentleman in front of both my son and daughter, opening my ex's door to her car, just being respectful. Right. And showing love in a different way that isn't a romantic love.
Correct.
So to speak.
Correct.
But now that I have a fiance, they can see how I show her love.
Right.
And so they're going to, experience it from that regard.
Okay. All right. I do agree with that. How we treat women in general, how we treat adults, how we treat elders. I know my son, my oldest son brings up this situation when him and his brothers they went somewhere with my mom, right? And then they came over, and I don't know if they went grocery shopping. They had to have gone grocery shopping, right, with my mother. And they were younger, and they got out the car and they started racing up the steps. Right? So I was living in an apartment at the time. They were racing up the steps to try to get to the door first, or whatever, right? They got there, I opened the door, I'm like, where's grandma? Where's the groceries? Right? They totally spaced that they were supposed to, help her. And so, my son really remembers this because he brought this story up. And he's brought it up a couple times because I made them, first of all, go get the groceries, right? And I'm like, yo, don't ever let a woman carry something that you as a man can carry. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever do that, especially your grandmother, especially your mother, your sister, you know what I'm saying? Somebody that's close to you. And I made them, she had water jugs, so I made them hit the wall, stand 90 degrees and hold
Wall
the water
sits with
jugs.
the water jugs?
Wall sits with
Wall
the water
sits
jugs.
with the water jugs.
Oh, yeah. My son, they was crying. They was crying, boy. 'Cause I made them hold it up for a minute, too. 'Cause I was hot. I was like, how y'all gonna leave her out there for one? And then for two, you didn't even help with the groceries? Oh, I was hot. Yeah, they remember that. But, just instilling that in. And I know that that's something that they won't ever forget. I know they won't forget because my son brings it up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's how he treats women. You know what I'm saying? That's how, he understands his role as a man and the masculinity, right, of doing those type of things.
Amen.
Amen to that.
Yes. So that's a lover stage. Now we move on to the king stage.
Okay, I like this one. Let's see
Okay,
what
so
we're talking about.
now, as a man matures, he is entrusted, get this, with power, money,
Okay.
and influence.
Okay.
And that's a huge one. So this stage requires the wisdom, selflessness, and the ability to lead with integrity. This part to me is like one of the most hugest stages because you are coming into like your full development as a man.
So my question is, I know that you went through the stages, but we didn't really get the ages or age ranges of the stages. And so is there an age range for this king stage that you speak of?
It all depends on how fast.
I mean, I know, yeah, I know. I
think
people
it
are-
depends on how fast you mature,
Right.
Because hear me on this. There could be a young boy out there who has no father figure,
Okay.
right? And has never had a father figure who was raised by, grandma and mom, auntie, whatever, whoever, right?
Okay.
And that's all he knows is what he knows from them.
Okay.
So if we talk about these stages, you can have a 24 or a 36-year-old man who has not experienced the beloved stage, the cowboy ranger stage, the warrior stage, the lover stage. He don't know how to do any of this. So it all
So he can't
depends.
get to his king stage without going through all the other stages.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's not like, oh man, I'm 36. It's too late. Like, no,
Nah, you got to
it's
figure
not
it
too
out.
late.
Yeah. So this makes sense when, a lot of the women now are complaining about the dudes in the dating pool.
Yeah.
I hear that there's piss in the dating pool. I hear that a lot. I hear that there's, not a lot of good men to choose from, or that there's men that want to be kings but are not kingly. Or they want their woman to submit to them, but they're not submitted to anything.
Right.
So, yeah, it's hard to be a servant leader if you are not serving.
Yeah. So this stage is really huge because, we as God-fearing men, right? We are, and with kids, we
Yes.
are entrusted. So it talks about being entrusted with power. We are entrusted to train up our children in the way they should go. Like,
Yes.
when I think about my kids and how much I love them, I still have to remember they're not even mine. They're God's.
Yep. This is true.
And he entrusted us to train them up. Right? That is our job. Okay. But then like it goes into this whole thing with, about, power, money. With a lot of money comes power, vice versa, and influence. And we have to be mature, responsible men when it comes to this. We have to be selfless. We have to use wisdom. You're always what are you always asking? Like when I'm like, all right, what's your prayer request? Wisdom. My boy Cali always asking for wisdom.
Always asking for wisdom.
My man Solomon over here.
Yeah. Hey man. Hey, I'm trying to get at least half of what Solomon had. In wisdom and riches. You feel me?
So, and being selfless and the ability to lead with integrity is huge.
Yes.
And like again, more is caught than taught.
Yes.
So we have to move and shake with integrity, especially in front of our kids.
Yes. 100%.
They're going to see, and like that's going to fall. Like they're never going to forget moments in which we can lead out of lies and dishonesty, or we can lead out of truth and integrity, and they're going to see the outcome and what happened,
Right.
and they're going to be like, all right, yeah, I seen Pops do this. Like he told the truth, he led with integrity, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Or I saw my dad do this and he got away with it, so I'm gonna do it.
that part.
So
but I mean it goes both ways, and when I say both ways, it goes for women as well, leading leading yourself with integrity.
Yeah.
Right. I was recently reading in Ruth. I was reading the book of Ruth. Right. And, that's one of the things that stood out to me is that, she wasn't really trying to do anything other than be a woman of integrity. Right?
Shout out to Ruth.
And that's how Boaz found her.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he found her doing what she was supposed to be doing. And I wrote about this today. It's, as men, we know, right? We know the wifey material type chicks from the, rental type chicks.
He said rental.
I'm trying to say it in the nicest way possible, but I hear a lot of women say, or I hear women say, I'll start doing that when I have a husband. I will, right? When I have a man, I will act a certain way, or I don't need to act a certain way because I don't have a man right now, and I don't, you know what I'm saying? But when I do, I will do this. And so for men, we look at it the opposite way. Like, women choose and marry off of potential. Like, oh, I see his potential, the man that he will be. Men, on the other hand, we look at what she's doing now and her patterns now, right? And we choose based off of that. So if you're a woman and you thinking that you're going to change it up after you get the dude, that's not how we're looking at it. We're looking at it as, what are you doing now? What are you posting now? What are you wearing now? How are you interacting now? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what Boaz saw in Ruth, right? Before he chose her, and before, she came out, and, he did all the things that he was supposed to do. She was already wifey material. You feel me?
Yep.
So, take it for what it's worth. Like I said in my post, like, you got free will. You can do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? I know they be out there they be having the slut walks. You know what I'm saying?
The who?
What? You never heard of the slut walk?
No.
Oh, yeah, they have this thing called the slut walk, at least out here in L.A., and it's led by Amber Rose. She orchestrated it, and it was just about, it's my body. I can do what I want. I can wear what I want. Just because I'm dressed like a slut doesn't mean X, Y, Z, right? And they have a actual, like, they're out there with picket signs like, I can be a slut, right? Like a slut walk, right? So you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I mean, God gave us all free will. So if you want to dress like however you want to dress, then, do what you do. But just understand that there's things that come with that.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't know that was a thing.
You didn't know that slut walk is a thing?
No, I did not. I did not know that was a thing, bro.
Come on, man. You're not in know.
But it's a good thing that we are talking about this. And especially as we talk about, these different stages, right? I'm going to circle back to the whole Amber Rose thing after the final stage.
Okay.
Let's go. So the final stage is the sage stage.
Okay.
And this is when a man acts as a mentor and a guide. And sharing his wisdom and experience with the younger generation. Okay?
Yeah.
This stage is about legacy and passing on wisdom to the masculine journey, right?
Nice.
Okay, so
which is what this whole podcast is about.
Exactly. So if we do that, right?
Right.
Then we are going to cultivate the type of men that God has created us to be.
Correct.
Right? If we do that and we're cultivating the type of man that God is creating us to be, we're going to be cultivating the type of fathers that God has created us to be.
Bingo.
Right? Every young girl has a question that needs to be answered, and it's by their father. Am I lovely? Am I beautiful?
Right.
Am I worth fighting for?
100%.
Okay?
100%.
Now, circling back to the whole Amber Rose thing.
Okay.
I tell my daughter all the time how beautiful she is.
Nice.
How proud I am of her. Like all these things, right?
Right.
So that when she catches the eye of a young man, she's not going to fall for the first, like, oh, you cute.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like, she already knows that.
Right.
And in fact, she knows that she's beautiful because her father told her. So
that part.
That's not going to work.
flowers.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Do you bring her flowers?
I
Have
do.
you done that yet?
I do.
Okay, yeah. Nice.
We go on
All that kind of
dates and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
all that stuff.
like whoever,
Right, you got to step. You got to step
They
up.
don't have to come with a whole lot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're setting the floor, which is
Right.
good. You're setting the standard, right? Which is good because I remember I bought flowers for somebody. It was just off the side of the road, and they was like, "This is the nicest thing anybody has ever done for me," and she just like melted. And like after that point, I could do anything that I wanted. We're talking about $2 worth of flowers. You feel what I'm saying? And she's willing to give up her whole life,
Yeah.
and do anything I wanted, right? Because of $2 worth of flowers. You see what I'm saying? Like
That's
that
wild.
should never be the standard.
The standard. No.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Like I didn't have to do any other qualifications. I just came with some flowers that I got from 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So peep this. So with that being said, and with a ton of young girls who have not had that question answered by their father,
Right.
right? Then you have influencers, people of influence,
Okay.
who are, starting the, what did you say it was? Slut?
Slut walk.
Slut walks.
Uh-huh.
And they're influencing all these young girls who look up to them
Right.
because they are, they have influence in the media for
Right.
whatever reason.
Right.
Like whether you're a Kardashian or whether you're like, it don't matter. Like
yeah.
these young girls are going to follow what they see in them.
Right.
And so unless they have that question answered already by their father or a father figure in their life that helped raise them, they're going to follow suit.
Right. Yeah. No,
So-
I agree. I'm interested to see just going off of what you said about the influencers. Like some of the Kardashians pulled out their implants. Now they got the flat butts again.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, for reals?
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting because and that's starting to be a thing that I'm starting to see among like the celebrity or whatever. Like obviously there's still like Instagram whatever chicks
Yeah.
who got plastic, but I'm seeing they're taking out their butts. I've seen a few of them take out their butts. And so I wonder if that's going to be a thing now that people will be like, oh, well, flat butts is in now. I mean, we had 25 years of, them pushing the BBLs and the big butts on us.
Yeah.
So,
No,
the cycle's about to switch up.
Yeah, after I didn't really notice them until after COVID, and then I was just like, since when did this race have? And then I was like, oh, I get it. Okay.
Yeah, it's
But it was
it's-
like astronomically like unproportionate, and I'm just like, what? Why
Yeah,
would
a lot of them are out of control, like just out of control. But you can put it on a payment plan. You can put anything on a payment plan.
But
now.
I'm just like, okay, if you like, you could do whatever you want, right?
Correct.
But why would you go to the unnatural, most extreme look?
Well, because I think it goes back to what you were saying about they didn't get what they needed from their father,
Yeah.
right? To the point where they feel like they have to look a certain way, right? To achieve whatever they are trying to achieve, whether it's doing OnlyFans or, to feel better about
Attention,
themselves.
to get noticed, all this stuff,
Right? Like, I hear a lot of people, no, I did it for me. I did it because I wanted to feel good about my body. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, we all have different bodies,
Yeah.
right? And so you don't have to have a certain look for you to feel good. Like, you just have to accept who you are. And once you accept it, it's so freeing. Like, once I realized that I am going to be a skinny guy, you feel me? Like, it was so freeing. It was so freeing. Like, I just accepted, like, I'm just gonna be a skinny guy, bro. Like, that's what it is. Like, I've just embraced it. You know what I'm saying? I've embraced my skinniness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I looked into chest implants.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't.
They got those pec implants.
No,
you know what I'm
you
saying?
have not. You've
I was
never
like,
done
you know
that.
what?
He's
What
lying.
if I give me some pec implants, make it look?
I wish you guys could see him right now.
So,
He's
so I can
lying.
get my Terry Crews on, my blip, 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 blip. You know what I'm saying? But that's not who God made me to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I was 6'8", you know what I'm saying, and in the league, then that's what he made me to be, and that would be my assignment. But that's just not my assignment. You feel me?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. You know, we are in this world, and I like reading the Bible because all of the rules and all of the things in there that they tell us that God was trying to move the people away from was things that people were already doing. Like, people in the ancient times was
They're wild. Wait, man, you think people today are wild? They were
wild. Like, no sacrificing children,
like straight wild.
Straight wild. So I always try to keep that in context when I look at the things that are going on today, because sometimes I'm like, yo, that's just crazy. That's not how it was back in the day. But I'm like, yes, it was. Yeah. It was even worse.
Way before our time.
Way before our time. Like, you could literally just go to somebody's land and kill them and take their land.
Yeah.
And then it's your land now. Yeah. Like, you could literally just do that. Just wipe out somebody's entire family just because, you know, they can't defend themselves. And so now it's my land, and it's legally your land. Like, you could do that back in those days. You know what I'm saying? Back in ancient times. And it had nothing to do with the Bible, right? That was just the people that were living on earth at that time, you know? So it's definitely not as worse or not as bad as it used to be.
Yeah.
But it could always get better, and it could always get worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's wild.
Well, that's our episode today.
That's our show for today. We appreciate y'all, you know, stopping by. And any last thoughts you want to leave about, you know, masculinity and what is she? I don't remember what she said. Good masculinity, acceptable masculinity.
I forget the term that she used.
Right, but not the opposite of toxic masculinity.
Yeah. And what we did here is we broke down the different stages of how the masculine heart develops, and starting from young boyhood and into the sage stage, which is you sharing and passing on your wisdom and experience and guidance to the younger generation.
The younger generation.
And that's what it's about. It's about really and truly cultivating and growing up these young men to be just that, good young men, great fathers, great husbands, great leaders. That's what we need. It starts with us. Fellas, if you have not gone through this, if you did not grow up with a father or a father figure or an uncle or a grandpa that helped instill these different stages in your life, it's not too late. It's not too late. So
100%. All right, we appreciate y'all. We'll catch y'all next week. I'm Cali, that's Donté. This is Fathers Handling Business. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you found our discussion enlightening and empowering as you navigate the rewarding journey of fatherhood. Don't forget to follow us on socials, join the conversation, and share your own experiences. We're here to support and inspire each other, one episode at a time. Until next time, keep empowering the dad in you.